Hi guys, so I thought I'd do a double graphic novel kind of review, seeing as I've been reading quite a lot of those in the past month or so. So I am going to be reviewing Username Evie by Joe Sugg and The Gigantic Beard That Was Evil by Stephen Collins. So I'm just going to start with Username Evie by Joe Sugg, just because I read this before the other one, and also because it's the one that I least liked, so then I can end on a positive note. So this is about Evie, who is kind of an outcast in her school. Nobody really likes her, not even her own cousin, which makes things worse. She's also a carer for her dad, and as he gets more and more ill, she kind of feels more and more depressed with life and how it is. Events occur which lead Evie to stumble on this kind of project that her dad had been working on. So she boots up her laptop, because that's the form of gift it is, and is sucked into this whole virtual world that was kind of created by her dad to make her feel better about her life and kind of to give her a purpose so she can go on, continue in reality as good as ever. So just from the plot, it sounded like a story I could really enjoy. The kind of idea was quite, although basic, it was decent enough for me to think, you know what, I'm gonna love it. But I just don't think it was executed as well as it could have been. Some features in the graphic novel didn't kind of make sense for what the story was conveying. I actually only started to get into the story after the virtual world was introduced, which is not very good, because there is a while of just regular reality, meeting the characters, meeting Evie in particular, and the fact that I couldn't get excited about what was going on in that part takes a lot out of the story, because that was quite, I guess, a necessary part of it, especially for the beginning. Even when I was sucked into the book, it was only for fleeting moments. I couldn't feel it continuously. I only felt it when there were certain interactions with characters. It kind of made me a little bit emotional, but as I said, it didn't really last very long, which is sad. I mean, I do really like the artwork. It's pretty cool. It's kind of not what you usually see these days in terms of artwork. It's very graphic-y looking, if that makes sense. It's very comic-y book style in my opinion. But yeah, that was only really the major good part. I just found it to be really kind of predictable in the way events unfolded, and in terms of who characters were in the reality versus in the virtual world. It was kind of just too obvious. You didn't really need to read between the lines, which I like to do in books and graphic novels. I like to kind of find things out myself. I don't appreciate it when it's kind of thrown in my face and it's way too obvious. Mallory, which is Evie's cousin, the one that also gives her a lot of hell and grief at school, regardless of what's going home in Evie's home life, I just didn't understand her motive for things. I just felt like she was mean just to be mean. There wasn't any true backstory. By the end they tried to kind of get you to understand her side of things and why she was the way she was, but it was just shallow, and just, it didn't have any kind of oomph to it. The story didn't really flow very well. For example, one moment there'd be someone fighting another person and it was super intense, and then like the next page or the next half of the page they were having a heart-to-heart. It didn't make any sense at all. Nothing flowed. It was very bitty, very broken up. I think this could be a good story if it was done, without sounding rude, if it was done by someone more experienced in story writing and graphic novel writing particularly. Joe Sugg, I'm sorry, is a great guy, great YouTuber, but I think especially something so intense as, I guess, a sci-fi kind of story, it should be done by a professional rather than a debut novelist, graphic novelist, if you know what I mean. So perhaps if he comes back to this kind of idea at a later date, not exactly redoes this story, but maybe uses the world and the ideas that he had initially, it could be something amazing. So I do have hope for it, but for now, sadly, I gave it 2 stars, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. Sorry. Now on to something I really did enjoy. Something that I gave 4 stars, and that is The Gigantic Beard That Was Evil by Stephen Collins. I find this very difficult to simplify, so I'm just going to read you the synopsis off of Goodreads. The job of the skin is to keep things in. On the button-down island of here, all is well, by which we mean orderly, neat, contained, and moreover, beardless. Or at least it is until one famous day when Dave, bald but for a single hair, finds himself assailed by a terrifying, unstoppable monster. Where did it come from? How should the islanders deal with it? And what, most importantly, are they going to do with Dave? This is one of those rarity stories that is just so weird, but it can get away with it because of the way that it's provided to the reader. I don't think this is going to be something for everything just because of its bizarreness, but I certainly loved it. As I said, I gave it 4 stars. Can't really think of any other way to describe this other than just how strange it was, and I really loved it for that fact alone, as well as many other factors. The story itself was super silly but so unique. Like, you literally have this guy who one day grows this beard that takes over the island of here, and it's stupid but amazing. I can't help but think there's a deeper meaning to how people seen as different are treated, but how kind of society still tries to take it and market it. I don't know if I'm looking too deep into that, but I feel like there's some undertones there that if I was smart enough I'd be able to pick out better. Maybe I'm just making it up, but I went into this book hoping to find some of those philosophical, I can't even say the word, undertones, and I feel like I have, just not to a degree, which I'm fine with, because I also said that if it was just a strange silly book I'd be equally happy with that, and I think it's both parts in my opinion. I loved the art used. It was so simplistic. Let's see if I can find you a page. Yeah, it was literally so basic. I loved the sketchiness of it, the black and white greys. It added to the calmly oddity of the story itself, and it definitely suited this graphic novel. I'm not satisfied with it. I need more. I mean, I'm satisfied in terms that I loved it, but I need more. I want to know what happens to Dave. I want to know what happens to this beard. Is there more that continues after the events in this graphic novel? I would love to hear more. I want to see more about the mysterious other area called there that they mention in this, and why everybody's so frightened of it. It would just be great to see like a little, maybe a spin-off graphic novel, whatever, it doesn't really matter. I would love to see it. So those are my reviews of Username Evie and the gigantic beard that was evil. Do let me know if you've read any of these, or if you are planning to read any of these. If you've read both of them, what was your favourite out of the 2 and why? And also recommendations are much appreciated. So thank you very much for watching, and I shall speak to you in another video soon.